Um, very good afternoon, Zesha. Hello, very good afternoon, Anam. Hi, how are you? Nityank, I'm here now. Hi, how are you, Nityank? Samarth, some more people have also joined in. Good to see all of you. Good to see all of you. So, Independence Day is just around the corner. The 75th Independence Day celebrations are just around the corner. India suddenly seems like a decently old country. It seems like just a few years back we were celebrating like the 60s kind of birthday, and now 70 suddenly 75th birthday has also come around. And on this occasion, on the occasion of the 75th Independence Day, all of us here at Gradeup thought we will bring you some interesting sessions about the Constitution, the development of the Constituent Assembly, including the various aspects of, or the various roles that the lawyers played in the independence movement itself. So those are the kind of things that we are going to be looking at, not just today, but today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, right up to 15th of August, when we are all going to listen to the Prime Minister speak at the Red Fort, and some hopefully positive news about the end of the coronavirus crisis once again. And doesn't look like the third wave is coming pretty soon. In any case, the vaccination drive has also been going on quite massively. So all in good faith at the end of the day, right? So let's see how those things develop. Some more people have also joined in. Saloni, very good afternoon to you. Kishan Mishra, which session is it? Legal aptitude? Well, I mean, the role of lawyers. So this is going to be more of a historical look at the freedom movement, so to say, right? Rakshanda sir, is it also relevant for JMI? Yes, because static GK is an important portion. So all of those things can be quite relevant for the various law entrance examinations as well, right? Nitya is happy Independence Day in advance, sir. Thank you very much, Nityank. Ahana Datta has also joined. Yashasvi, very good afternoon to both of you. Anjali Kumari, also very good afternoon to you as well. Okay, so in light of the Independence Day celebrations, we also have a flat 50% discount that is available for all the celebrations that we are going to have, right? And you can use the code Azadi50, Azadi50, which is the flat 50% off, right? Plus 75% extra validity. So duration for your subscription courses will be much longer if you are using this particular code, right? Now Gradeup celebrates Independence Day, and we're going to do it over the course of the next 4 days on the app, as well as on the YouTube channel. Some of the important announcements and sessions are going to be there. 4-day virtual session, like I said, from the 12th, that is today, right up to and including the 15th of August, right? So do stay tuned in. Those of you who have not come to the app yet, please do join us there, because that's where most of the stuff is going to get discussed. And of course, in terms of the various CLAT courses, whether it is CLAT 2022, where we have the repeaters course, which is both in English and bilingual batches. We have the comprehensive course, which is also in both English and bilingual batch, as well as the examination of CLAT 2023, right, which is again the new pattern, and everything is already well on its way. So that's how we are going to be preparing for those of you who are already decided, right, in 11th class. And we've got so many queries from people who've just finished their 10th class and so on. It's very encouraging. It's very encouraging, I must say, to see that people are so forward looking these days, that they're really looking at They're really looking at law entrance preparation, etc. So early, okay. Very good afternoon, Shrestha. Hi, how are you, Shrestha? Hope you're doing well. Okay. The movement of freedom, the Indian national movement for freedom, the Indian independence movement has been quite a bit of a struggle. And I wanted to start with something that's very, very basic that all of you have read about, and how, you know, sometimes history itself can be so distorting. All of you have read this phrase, or you've heard of this phrase, right? Sepoy Mutiny. You've heard of this phrase, Sepoy Mutiny? Now, Sepoy Mutiny is basically the uprising in the ranks of the British Indian armed forces led by Mangal Pandey and so many others. Sepoy Mutiny एक ऐसा phrase है, it's a phrase that has been used by British historians to simply kind of try to point out that it's just a bunch of soldiers who tried to do an uprising against the great British Empire, and of course they really lost. So nowadays, in fact, if you look at our books, right, the movement that began in 1857 is the first war of independence. Is the first war of independence. It is not seen, right, the first war or the first revolution. Okay, these are the words that you should be remembering as well. I, as an Indian, and you know, in and around so close to Independence Day, I would encourage all of you to remember it as the revolt or the revolution or the first war of independence, rather than as the Sepoy Mutiny. So itna chota nahi tha. Just like in other history books you will read Indus Valley Civilization. No? And these days we don't use the word Indus Valley Civilization. We don't use that phrase. We use the phrase Harappan Civilization. Right? So because one major city Harappa zarur tha, that's fine. Or Mohenjo-daro and Lothal. But a lot of historians इसलिए Indus Valley Civilization बोलते हैं ताकि अरे वो एक नदी के बगल में दो शहर थे. Right? But it was not one river. It was an entire cultural practice. It was an entire civilization that really existed, from sites that have been found in Gujarat, sites that have been discovered in Uttar Pradesh, even in West Bengal, right? So from Lothal, and so many of these जो आप अब definitely पढ़ते हैं. So when we're looking at history, right? When we're looking at history, I think the first and the most important thing I want to tell you about history is remember that history is ultimately written and documented by people who won the wars and so on. So a lot of times even Indian history tends to get a little distorted, tends to get a little, you know, drafted in a particular manner, because अब जो लिखे हैं वो उन्हीं का perspective है. But we shouldn't fall into the British trap at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, we should probably remember that in 1857, it was the first revolution of independence, or the first war of independence. Now, of course, we had Aarti has also joined in. Anam, yes sir, सबको ठीक है, बढ़िया. Sanjay, कैसे हो आप sir? Meeting you after a long time. Sanjay, good to see you. Yes, I'm doing perfectly fine, Sanjay. I'm doing perfectly fine. I hope you're doing well as well. I hope you're doing well as well. So in the next slide, of course, you see the first war of independence in 1857 and its aftermath. The formation of the Indian National Congress happened in 1885, and the consolidation of the entire national movement, you know, towards independence is basically what we started to do. The era was of moderates like Dadabhai Naroji, Sundarnath Banerjee, and Madan Mohan Malviya and Motilal Nehru, and among others were important moderate leaders who were also lawyers, right? A lot of these people were also lawyers. The moderates believed in the system of constitutionalism, right? So we used to write letters, we used to attend their later on we used to attend their round table conferences. We were looking for a negotiation at the end of the day. right? We passed various resolutions demanding autonomy, demanding a certain degree of freedom, demanding changes to certain amount of policies, etc. But theek hai, struggles had started, right? The struggles had started, but the struggles were not really bearing too much fruit when we look at the historical evolution of the independence movement. Right now, of course, we also had the very famous trio, the three people that most of you have heard about, Lal, Bal, Pal, right? So lawyers like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, right? So Lal, Bal, Pal mein Bal was Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who was an extremist kind of a leader and gave a new direction to the Indian National Congress. Tilak began a new phase of more radical thought within the organization. He put forth new ideas and methods of opposing the imperialist rule and advocated stronger actions like boycott of foreign goods and what is known as the Swadeshi Movement, right? Swadeshi Movement. And along with it, of course, he is most famous for the first call. Now, the Indian National Congress ka pehla call for Purn Swaraj, of course, happened a little later, right? The Purn Swaraj resolution is 1929 Lahore, if I remember correctly, right? But of course, Purn Swaraj के बारे में बाल गंगाधर तिलक ने तो काफी पहले ही बोल दिया था, स्वराज is my birthright, complete independence. Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it, right? So Bal Gangadhar Tilak, of course, himself was also a lawyer. Right now, along with them, we also, obviously, everybody has heard of the Sher-e-Punjab or the Punjab Kesari, Lala Lajpat Rai, right, who ultimately succumbed to certain injuries, right, who succumbed to certain injuries when the lathi charge had happened against him, you know, and so on. So that's again something that that the legal professionals at least had a huge role to play. See, Rajgopalachari later on became Governor General as well of India, one of the first recipients of the Bharat Ratna once India became independent, right? I think first or second recipient of the Bharat Ratna was also C. Rajgopalachari, if I remember correctly. Please do verify some of these things. हो सकता है कि fourth थे या कुछ थे, शायद मैं कुछ mistake कर रहा हूँ. But he formed the extremist faction along of the Congress along with Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal. Bipin Chandra Pal, of course, Lal Bal Pal. Bipin Chandra Pal was part of that trio. And later, Lajpat Rai presided over the first session of the All India Trade Union Congress in 1920. Right? He also went to Geneva. This is, we are talking about Punjab Kesari. Right, we're talking about Punjab Kesari. He went to Geneva to attend the 8th International Labour Conference in 1926 as a representative of the Indian labour. His journals Bande Mataram and People contained his inspiring speeches to end oppression by the foreign rulers. The foreign rulers being the British in this case, right? Okay. Of course, in Bengal, while all of this was happening, some of you remember the partition of Bengal had already happened, right? Who was the person who had done the partition of Bengal? Lord Curzon, right? Lord Curzon, and partition of Bengal had happened in 1905. And post the partition of Bengal, there were obviously a lot of violence that ensued. You know, C. Rajgopalachari, C.V. Raman and S. Radhakrishnan were together the recipients of the Bharat Ratna. Acha, okay. So somebody has bothered to verify Samarth. Thank you very much for checking it out for me. And they were the first ones to receive the Bharat Ratna together, I assume. Because then I know that Jawaharlal Nehru government gave, I think, third Bharat Ratna in history was given by the Jawaharlal Nehru government to Jawaharlal Nehru only. So, and of course, Indira Gandhi continued with that trend कि भारत रत्न खुद की सरकार खुद ही को दे रही थी. You know, so some interesting developments from there on. But okay, so Rajgopalachari ji definitely was there. Now, Aurobindo Ghosh and a lot of other revolutionaries, right, were of course charged with sedition and so many other things. However, eminent lawyer C.R. Das came to their rescue, right, and got a lot of these people acquitted. And sedition, of course, is a law that we keep applying in so many cases even today, right? This case also brought Das to the forefront professionally and politically, also called Deshbandhu. C.R. Das used his legal knowledge to save many other nationalists and revolutionaries from the clutches of the British government. He was the defense counsel in the Dhaka conspiracy case as well, and was famed for his handling of both the civil as well as the criminal prosecutions that were initiated by the then government of Britain, right? So fighting the British even through their legal system was obviously an important part of the role that the lawyers ultimately played. Now, last, I think, but not the least at all, the most important figure, at least as far as lawyers are concerned, right? One of the most important figures was definitely Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, right? And Mahatma Gandhi, of course, was also a lawyer, right? And I think by a huge margin, the most important face in terms of the entire freedom movement, right? The entire freedom movement. Now, of course, there's, I wouldn't say one of the most important message, इसीलिए कह रहा हूँ, I understand Gandhi was for a lot of you the most important, but I know that for a lot of you, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was probably the most important as well. So I don't want to go into that controversy कि Bose and Gandhi में कौन ज़्यादा important था. इसीलिए मैंने पहले बता दिया, as a lawyer at least, and when we're looking at the role of lawyers, right, Mahatma Gandhi definitely, along with Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Bhimrao Ambedkar and so many others, was definitely the most prominent faces of the freedom movement. Mahatma Gandhi was a lawyer by profession, had just returned from South Africa, where there was a lot of racial discrimination that he had faced. All of you know that very famous story of him being thrown out of the train and so on. Gandhi had made his mark in India already by his successes, right? The movement itself did not lead to any major success, but he had become famous, right? Whether it is the Champaran movement or the Kheda Satyagraha in Champaran in Bihar. Gandhi led organized protests and strikes against the landlords, who with the guidance of the British government signed an agreement granting the poor farmers of the region more compensation and control over farming, and cancellation of revenue hikes and its collections until the famine had ended. So उस time major famines भी हो रहे थे. Bengal famine तो काफी famous है, right, where there was a huge crisis and food shortage, and so many hundreds of thousands of people actually died of starvation during those times. So dark periods in Indian history, dark spots in the Indian freedom movement, given the degree of problems that had actually arisen at that time, right? So again, Gandhiji's role, we can go on for another hour just discussing Mahatma Gandhi and his role in the freedom movement itself. But let's move on to another very eminent legal professional, a very eminent lawyer, who also subsequently became the first president of India. He was also the first elected head of the Constituent Assembly of India as well, right? पहले एक interim president थे Constituent Assembly के, that was Sachidanand Sinha ji, right? And after Sachidanand Sinha, when the elections happened, right, the head of the Constituent Assembly, जो first and the only elected head थे, it was Dr. Rajendra Prasad, both of whom are from Bihar. And Rajendra Prasad ji, of course, was an eminent lawyer and subsequently the first president of independent India. He was, of course, involved with Gandhiji in the Champaran movement, along with Balubhai Desai, another lawyer and politician who represented the farmers of Gujarat following the Bardoli Satyagraha in 1928. Balubhai also formidably represented farmers' case and was important to the eventual success of the farmers' struggle, जो चंपारण movement के बाद, and the खेड़ा सत्याग्रह and the बारदोली सत्याग्रह, ये सारे सत्याग्रह के बाद जो farmers को बहुत सारे rights मिले and the change the change ultimately that now fees will not be included and so on, fees will not be increased and so on, taxes will not be increased, ये सारी जो चीजें हो पाई थी, right? Okay, everyone is important. No, I'm not disagreeing at all. Important figure that cleared the path of Bhagat Singh's death sentence. Shrestha, are you talking about Dr. Rajendra Prasad? Oh, you're talking about Gandhi ji, I assume. I mean, that's a that's a much longer discussion, and I think while I also personally think that there are definitely some mistakes that Gandhiji had also committed, it is impossible to take a position that Gandhiji did not play an important role in the freedom movement, right? So he was a human being at the end of the day. I know महात्मा कहते तो ऐसा लगता है कि महात्मा है तो कुछ गलत बोल ही नहीं सकते टाइप का, but while he might have committed some mistakes, no doubt about it, definitely being a human being, everybody can get a calculation wrong, get some conclusion wrong, get a policy decision wrong or a plan wrong. ये हो सकता है, right? But he definitely had a very important role to play in the freedom movement of India. And this is not to say Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose did not have a role to play, or Dr. Rajendra Prasad did not have a role to play, or Nehru did not have सबका अपना अपना role था. Of course, you agree with someone, and I understand that, right? Some people believed in trying to negotiate with the British, and some people believed in joining the Indian National Army with as much passion and giving up their lives and families and net worth and everything for the cause of Subhash Chandra Bose as well. So it's just a question of which path. And see, retrospect में समझना आसान है कि अब तो बैठ के आराम से हम कह सकते हैं कि अच्छा वो बेटर था, ये बेटर था. But उस time पे, when there was so much uncertainty, the world was grappling in the middle of a world war, while Hitler's armies were marching through Poland and annihilating Jews in France, and the Russians were bombing the Japanese, the world was in chaos. Uस time पे clear path, So mistakes are very, very possible, no doubt about it. But all of these people are great human beings who definitely have a very important place in Indian history for the end of time, till the end of time. So anyway, Constituent Assembly के first elected president was Dr. Rajendra Prasad. The Congress-led government, of course, invited Dr. Ambedkar to serve as the nation's first law minister. Ambedkar was also the chairman of the drafting committee, right? And the Muslim League, at the end of the day, that time तक बहुत सारे complication हो गए थे. Ultimately, partition and separate state for Pakistan भी हो ही चुका था. So therefore, Muhammad Ali Jinnah and friends, of course, continued with their deliberations for a constituent assembly and the drafting of the constitution as far as Pakistan is concerned. And Pakistan matlab West Pakistan and East Pakistan, both at the end of the day, right? So that's just a quick look at some of the important personalities, right? Yes sir, if you would have tried, Bhagat Singh might have gotten a not that sentence. Okay, so that's Shrestha, like I said, that's a much longer discussion. I'm not sure if we can have that discussion right here in the next few minutes, because there are many more aspects to what exactly happened that time, whether there were other important battles to choose as far as Gandhiji's satyagrahas also were concerned, and so on. Now, could he have gotten it done? Maybe yes, but at what cost and at what price, and what was more important? ये भी कभी-कभी थोड़ा सा calculate करने में quite a few difficulties there, right? So anyway, guys, we will see you on the app. There are so many important sessions that are coming your way, right? There are so many important stories that are coming your way. Today at 5 p.m. for example, we have the father of the Indian Constitution, Dr. Ambedkar. We will be talking for a short session. I will be taking, right? Where we would be talking about Dr. Ambedkar and his role, not just before and during the independence movement, but also afterwards, and the various things that role that he played in the drafting of the Constituent Assembly and the Constitution in particular. So to know more about it, I will see you at 5 p.m. in the evening on the Gradeup app. This one is not going to be on YouTube. This is going to be on the app. So see you soon, guys. In the meanwhile, go have a happy lunch, right? And I'll see you guys soon. Thank you very, very much. Have a lovely afternoon, guys. Bye-bye.